right, and the game award for Game of the Year goes to God of War.
1 year. It's been 1 full year since Sony and Santa Monica Studios released the award-winning game God of War onto the world, and still to this day it's on people's minds, still impacting the gaming industry, and still taking awards to this day, and still has one of the best memes of recent years. Don't at me.
And the game award goes to... Read it, boy.
But how and what exactly did God of War do to reach this phenomenal point? Was it the story, the gameplay, the characters? And does this game still hold up to all its awards and praise after a year? Well, that's what I'm here for. Hey guys, Notorious here, and today we'll be checking out the legendary God of War and see if all the hype and praise for it holds up after a year of its release, or is there some cracks in its diamonds that we didn't see before? Ladies and gentlemen, this is God of War, 1 year later. Let's begin. First, before we discuss about the 2018 God of War, let's take a trip to the past and look at its root. Santa Monica began development of God of War in 2002 under the working title Dark Odyssey. Yeah, that title doesn't hold as well as God of War, and unveiled it 2 years later at SCEA, Santa Monica's Gamers Day 2004, and eventually released on March 22nd, 2005. It was both a critical and financial triumph for Santa Monica and Sony, gaining a 94 on Metacritic, winning many Game of the Year awards, and selling over 4.5 million copies. Shocked how this action-packed Greek tale was so successful, Santa Monica proceeded to release several sequels and spin-offs, which are God of War 2, God of War Chains of Olympus, God of War 3, God of War Ghost of Sparta, God of War Ascension, and eventually God of War 2018. God of War became one of Sony's most iconic and successful franchises, up there with the likes of Uncharted and Ratchet & Clank, and it also became one of the most well-known franchises in the gaming industry due to its larger-than-life boss fight and their controversial death animations that have sparked outrage from the public due to how gory it can be. Most God of War games were just as successful as the first God of War until Ascension in 2013 came along with a decent reception, but unfortunately it didn't live up to anyone's expectations. And after that, the series went silent for quite some time. Until E3 2016.
What for?
A test. You talked to Notorious.
Yes, sir.
Better show me what you know.
Sony came out with a swing and began the hype of God of War all the way up to April 20th, 2018. God of War 2018 is a third-person action-adventure game with RPG elements set in the Norse mythology, instead of the established but destroyed Greek mythology like in the other games, with a much more emphasis on narrative storytelling, unlike its predecessors which were hack-and-slash adventures with a fixed camera angles. At first, the fans of the original game were skeptical of the drastic change to the franchise, some even proclaiming it to be a Last of Us or Dark Souls clone due to how similar the gameplay is.
Did something change? The forest feels different now.
Everything is different, boy.
This line,
To dwell on it.
Yes, sir.
so much weight behind this line. This is like that line at the beginning of Iron Man 2 when Don Cheadle is War Machine, and he pretty much just said, "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to deal with it. Let's move on." that line is all about that sense that everything has changed. So communication to Atreus, as much as it is to the audience, everything's different. Try not to dwell on it. Take in the experience.
However, once the game released and the public got their hands on it, they realized the combat is a lot more in-depth than expected. You have so many options of combos, special moves, and unique abilities to utilize, and it expands even more when Kratos acquires his Blades of Chaos, and when you're a companion and best boy,
Boy, look at me! Look at me, boy!
Atreus gains new abilities to further expand the gameplay. However, there is one function in the combat that everyone praised and has become an iconic feature: the Leviathan axe. Anyone that played this game knows how good it feels to throw that axe and retrieve it back, especially during combat. The weight behind it and the satisfaction it has when the axe flies back into Kratos' hand is a well-designed mechanic that makes the player feel like a god and gives them the powerful feel with a nice balance of sound, physics, and input. Overall, the combat is well defined and tighter than anyone expected. However, all games have faults, and God of War is no exception. Players have acknowledged that the combat could be a bit more in-depth like its predecessors, and while players are pleased with most of the boss fights such as Balder or the Dragon, everyone agreed that the game could have had a few more boss fights instead of a repeat of troll fights. But in the end, the gameplay was overall praised from players and critics alike. Another big highlight of the game is the world of Midgard and the other realms you can explore, such as Helheim and Alfheim, which are so fun to explore with a semi-open world structure to them, with the sense of huge wonders such as the beautiful light temple of Alfheim or the gigantic world serpent resting in the Lake of Nine.
He remembers me.
The world around you is packed with side content for players to do without it feeling too overbearing or clustered that many open world games do today to fill up playtime. These areas are breathtaking to look at, such as the frosty lands of Midgard with brilliant snow physics and texture. The prime example of this is during the strangest fight, as these two powerhouses clash. The snow, the tree, the leaves, everything is destroyed in a grounded yet devastating way to show how great this game looked, while at the same time making you feel powerful like the story intended you to. This is definitely reinforced thanks to Cory Barlog's directing and the outstanding technique he used of having this game all in one shot with no cuts during shots. And this makes scenes feel more impactful thanks to this technique, like in the before mentioned Stranger boss fight. This technique itself is a phenomenon itself, having a 30-hour long one-shot for a whole game that even challenges the best film cinematography. These many locations and set pieces are all accompanied with fantastic music composed by Bear McCree, who manages to capture the feel of the Norse realms from the triumphant and powerful orchestras to simple and soothing vocalists. Bear's music helps set the tone of the journey Kratos and Atreus take on throughout the 9 realms, and it makes the whole world of God of War feel a lot more alive and grand. Now, let's get to the meat of this game that everyone loves to talk about: the story.
We must be better. You must never forget that.
Cory Barlog, who was the creative director and writer of God of War, and who previously had key roles for all other God of War games, he was so passionate for the project that he put so much effort and time over the course of the 5-year-long development time, and he even made some personal sacrifices, such as not seeing his wife and his son for long periods of time. With the story presented to us, it shows how all of this affected him and how it impacted the way he crafted the story to what we have now. While I disagree with most people claiming Kratos was a bland character, and similar to Endless Justice video, I too thought it did have some depth to it in terms of stories and characterization in the previous games. I'll put that video down in the description so you can check it out for yourself. It's a great video. But God of War story is on a whole other level compared to the other games' narrative. God of War has been highly regarded for being one of the best stories of recent years in games, going up against the likes of The Last of Us, Metal Gear Solid, and The Witcher, and with very good reasons. Following the touching tale of Kratos and Atreus trying to fulfill the late phase, which is to spread her ashes on the highest peaks of all the realm, while overcoming all manner of threats from the likes of Draugrs, Trolls, and even the Norse gods themselves. I think the main reason why the story of God of War is so beloved is because it's not bombastic or larger than life like the other games were, where there's a large opposing threat such as Ares or Zeus. Instead, it follows the story of a father and son trying to fulfill a promise, while both Kratos and Atreus trying to grow and overcome their differences and learn from each other. Kratos learns how to be more open to not only his son, but others as well, while trying to find the redemption he truly wants within himself, struggling to finally put down the ghosts of his past.
You will always be a monster.
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
While Atreus on the other hand is trying to learn the true way of how the world works and how to deal with his mentality of being a god.
There are consequences to killing a god!
Why? How do you know? How do you know?
Watch your tone, boy.
Whatever.
The relationship between these two are so beautiful to watch as you see them slowly grow throughout the journey while overcoming some internal conflict such as Kratos keeping the past from Atreus.
But at least I know the truth now.
The truth. The truth.
Or when Atreus is overbearing his ego when he learns about his lineage.
Let me guess. Your brother isn't as talented as you, and his work is junk.
Those things are accurate. Your point?
It's all you ever talk about, over and over. Do something about it or shut up already.
I see.
Yeah! We're sick of hearing about little people's little problems!
All right. That hurt a little.
I think the best scene to prove this point is one of the earliest moments in the game where both Kratos and Atreus do Faye's funeral ceremony.
Who there do they call to me? She's ready.
Find your way home. You are free.
You could tell so much about both Kratos and Atreus and how they feel about the death of Faye. The amazing capture performance from both Christopher Judge and Sonny Shujak elevates the scene from the facial work and the movement itself, reinforced by a beautiful track thanks to Bear McCree's amazing score. Sure, there are some large conflicts to keep it interesting and well done pacing for the story, such as Thor's son, Magni and Modi, who are secondary villains who sometimes stop our protagonists from their goals.
And where do you think you're going? Oh no, brother. The little freak's got a bow. What are we gonna do?
And the interesting and sympathetic Boulder.
Fine. My turn. How incredibly disappointing.
Who in the end you kinda feel bad for because all he wanted was just to feel something again after who knows how long thanks to his overprotecting mother, Freya.
No, my boy! My dear sweet boy! I will rain down every agony, every violation imaginable upon you. I will parade your cold body from every corner of every realm and feed your soul to the vilest filth in hell. That is my promise.
He saved your life.
He robbed me of everything. Everything.
who's also a great character in this overarching narrative, and these two deliver a great contrast for both Kratos and Atreus in both dialogue and performance wise from the actors, which is surprising because we never really had a sympathetic villain in the God of War franchise. The side characters themselves are all performed well and memorably that bring something new to the table, including the two dwarves, Brock and Sindri.
Pattern weld the item with scap slag. Keep the layers thin. Alternate the overlay.
Okay, smart guy. And where do you propose to find a lump of quality scap slag? Last time I saw one, I could still get rigid down south.
Mimir, the smartest man alive.
The longer you wait to tell him his true nature, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever.
There is much about me I would not have him know.
So you value your privacy more than your son, eh?
I'm going to cut off your head now.
Fair enough.
And the previously mentioned Magni and Modi, and Balder and Freya. Each one of these characters have interesting and likable traits to them while having prominent roles in the story without halting or negatively affecting the story in terms of quality. And in the end, after Kratos and Atreus overcome many obstacles throughout the journey, from the first fight with Balder, witnessing the World Serpent, getting the Bifrost and defeating the Dark Elves at Alfheim, killing the dragon in the mountain, defeating both Magni and Modi, Kratos overcoming his demons and using the Blades of Chaos to save Atreus from his god sickness, finding Tyr's fold, working together to defeat Balder, which unintentionally begins Ragnarok, and finally, finding a way to Jotunheim to spread Faye's ashes. While at Jotunheim, both of them discover an unexpected truth. Faye was a giant, and I think Atreus says it best.
She was a giant. I'm a giant.
With this truth also teases Kratos' demise, and another unexpected yet dark truth is revealed.
My name on the wall. The giants called me Loki?
Atreus, Kratos' son, is Loki, the god of mischief, and the bringer of Ragnarok in Norse mythology. Ultimately, Kratos and Atreus accept each other as a true family and spread Faye's ashes. After their long and hard journey, they finally go home and get their well-deserved rest, coming to this game's final conclusion. But not without a little tease for the future.
What's that?
The ball!
And that was the end of God of War, but not the end of its success. It went on to win countless awards including Game of the Year, Best Narrative, Best Studio, and many more, with the only real competitor being Red Dead Redemption 2 by Rockstar Games.
You have to love yourself afar.
Only a 94 on Metacritic, with both players and critics claiming it to be one of the best games of the generation and of all time, God of War also sold over 10 million copies, which is a tremendous success for both Sony and Santa Monica Studios, and proving to many that single player games are not dying. So what does this mean for the future of God of War? Well, I think it's safe to say that a sequel is already in the works with many teasers, and with Sony giving details on the PS5, I think the sequel will be a PS5 title and will build up the event of Ragnarok, similar to how God of War 2 will build up the Siege of Olympus, which will then continue teasing Ragnarok in the third installment of the Norse series. I believe Faye, Thor, and Odin will go after Kratos and Atreus to prevent Ragnarok, especially after witnessing them kill 3 of their own, and Atreus discovers more of his godhood, and maybe finds several of his allies from Norse mythology such as Fenrir the Wolf, Hel, and Jormungandr. Well, the real one, not the one from the future. To build up a force against Asgard, with Kratos being conflicted against fighting the gods again, but only time will tell. Now, after taking this deep dive into 2018's God of War, do I think God of War still holds up? Yes, I mean, just looking at it face first, the gameplay, the story, the music, the visuals, everything about it just screams masterpiece. And even when you look deep into the techniques, the structure, and the mechanics such as the one-shot trick, the Leviathan axe, and the deep narrative, you could tell Santa Monica and Cory Barlog put lots of time and care into this product until they knew it was ready to make the world go crazy as it did. And I just want to say thank you and congratulations to Cory and his team for all the effort and passion they put into this game, and I look forward to the inevitable sequel and potentially the future of God of War, where hopefully we shall see the teased mythologies of Egyptian, Japanese, Mayan, and many more in the future. And I'm glad to say God of War 2018 is one of my favorite games of all time. Thank you all for listening. My name is Notorious, and I'll see you all next time.